changing your life one story at a time. This is the Chicken Soup for the Soul podcast with Editor-in-Chief Amy Newmark.
Hey, it's Amy Newmark with your daily dose of Chicken Soup for the Soul inspiration to make you simply happy. Today is a big day for us because we have a new book out, Chicken Soup for the Soul, The Spirit of Canada. Chicken Soup for the Soul is very popular in Canada. In fact, we sell more books per person in Canada than we do in the United States. And we like to put out a book specifically for our Canadian readers every year or two. This year, Canada is celebrating its 150th anniversary of independence from Britain, with the official day being on July 1st, which is Canada Day. So we decided to put together this book with 101 stories about why people love Canada so much. Most of the stories are written by Canadians, but there are a few written by Americans, including the one I want to talk about today by Shirley Brooks Jones, who is from Ohio. Shirley was one of the Americans who was flying home from Europe on September 11th, 2001. In the middle of their flight over the North Atlantic, their captain came on the PA system and said they had a slight mechanical problem and they would be putting down in Gander, Newfoundland. Once they landed, the captain apologized for not telling them the truth while they were airborne, and he told them the real reason they'd had to land, about the planes hitting the Twin Towers, the Pentagon in Washington, and the plane crashing in Pennsylvania. He still didn't know much, but while they sat on the plane on the runway in Gander, he kept them up to date by reporting what he was hearing on the radio. Finally, after many hours stuck inside the plane, Shirley and the other people on her flight learned there would be thousands of passengers stuck in Gander with them. And then they saw the school buses. Long lines of yellow school buses converging on the airport to pick up all those stranded passengers. Thousands of passengers got off their planes and boarded school buses that took them to the terminal where they cleared Canadian Customs and Immigration, and then they got back on the buses and they were taken to many small towns and villages in the area. The bus drivers had actually been on strike, but when they heard about all those stranded passengers, they had walked off the picket lines to help the plane people, as they called them. Shirley's group from Delta Flight 15 went to a little town called Lewisport, where they were greeted with open arms by warm, wonderful, funny people who truly cared what had happened in the United States. The flags in Lewisport were already flying at half-staff when they got there. Shirley saw the Canadian maple leaf flag, of course, and the flag of the province of Newfoundland and Labrador, but she also saw American flags. That's when Shirley started crying. She was blown away by the thoughtfulness of the people in this little town. And then, when they got off the bus and saw where they were, Shirley cried some more, because her group was assigned to the Lions Club in that little town. Now, the Lions Club International is a worldwide service organization that does good deeds. And when Shirley had been a child and her parents couldn't afford to buy her eyeglasses, the Lions Club in her town had paid for them. Now, as an adult, she was the recipient of kindness from another Lions Club way up north in Canada. Shirley and her fellow passengers camped out in that Lions Club building with the locals cooking food for them and taking them home so they could take showers. People were sleeping everywhere, and the people of the little town did everything they could to care for these shocked and stranded passengers. The passengers hadn't been allowed to claim their baggage for security reasons, so they had no fresh clothes, and many of them needed prescription drugs that were stuck in their luggage. But that was no problem because the mayor of the town arranged for those passengers to visit a local doctor and get new prescriptions, and then he arranged for the local pharmacist to fill them, and all of this was done at no charge to the passengers. Shirley and her fellow passengers enjoyed this extraordinary hospitality for 3 days. When they were finally told they could reboard their planes and continue on their journeys, they tried to pay something, but their Canadian hosts wouldn't let them. The passengers on Shirley's flight talked about this once they were back together again on the plane, and they came up with a plan. And that's how another remarkable act of kindness occurred. Those passengers created a scholarship fund for the graduates of the high school in Lewisport. It's called the Lewisport Area Flight 15 Scholarship, and there have already been 256 recipients of scholarships from the fund. Shirley has even gone back to Canada to visit her new friends in Lewisport and to hand out the scholarships to the graduating high school students. It's an amazing story of Canadian kindness reciprocated with American kindness and the lasting bonds created on 9/11 between a group of passengers and the people who helped them on the ground in Canada. I'm Amy Newmark. Thanks for listening to the Chicken Soup for the Soul podcast today. Come back tomorrow for Wow Wednesday. We're going to talk about dreams and romance, and when dreams about the perfect romance actually come true. If you want to learn more about the book I mentioned today, Chicken Soup for the Soul, The Spirit of Canada, you can learn about it on our website, chickensoup.com, and you can find it wherever books are sold in Canada and in the U.S. on bn.com and amazon.com.